A very good morning to you. I'm Ron DeFer from Feed from His Basket at TTKMS. And I'd like to teach you a word today. It's called voyeurism. Voyeurism meaning is someone who is a peeping Tom. And the word for that, another word for it is called rape. Yes. So voyeurism equals peeping Tom equals rape. 5 years minimum charge. Teach you that. So good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be across this universe. Now, how is your day going? Well, anybody that's having cerebral vascular diseases of any kind, I'd like to help you on that. And how you can help with this. In your mind of any aneurysms, treatment of an aneurysm, or what can be used is magnesium, arginine, calcium, potassium, vitamin E, and vitamin C. Yes. For more information, you can make a 1-800 call to 352-9424. And they will help you with this. Always reach out, get backups, find out, give you an idea of how much to take. So if there anything going on with the blood vessels. Another great one for the blood vessels is, so I take my vitamins because you don't know, you got to keep the blood flowing. Another one, this will help prevent it too. Another one I use is cayenne pepper. It keeps the blood flowing in abundance and it keeps it a lot thinner. So if there's any kind of clotting going on where it's not supposed to be, it'll help unclot it. And there's places where it's not or needs to be clotting, and it will not clot in the brain. Okay, so you won't. It won't make you have a brain hemorrhage or anything like that. So this is another one. So if you're looking into that, so again, we have the word voyeurism. It equals peep and Tom. It equals rape, which equals to 5 years minimum jail. Okay. Now, and then vitamins, we can help with the risk of anything with the blood not flowing properly. We can take, again, magnesium, arginine, calcium. I haven't tried the arginine. I had to find out. There's potassium and vitamin E. Vitamin B's are very, very, very important with your breathing. So again, have a look into that. Go into a health store, check it out, ask your doctor, back it up. Make sure you got your evidence. Always back everything up. Always back everything up. So morning, evening, and afternoon, as I'm going to have some coconut water. Coconut water is very good for you because what it does is it hydrates you. Be careful of any sugar contents. Now, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death and life in the power of the tongue. Transformed by the renewing of the mind will help us to put more life into the tongue, right? It'll put life into the tongue. And life into the tongue, what we speak out is good things to people, good things to ourselves. We want to speak life to ourselves, okay? So death and life run in the power of the tongue, transformed by the renewing of the mind. So, again, we've learned about voyeurism without permission. That is rape, okay? They don't have your permission. That is rape. Number 2 is the different vitamins that we can take, C and E and potassium, magnesium, and what's the other one I said? Arginine. And vitamin E, stopping any kind of brain hemorrhages. And again, back it up. So again, life, I'm speaking life to you. I'm speaking truth to you. If you want to find more out about voyeurism, you can call the city and you can call the police officers. You can find out the rules and what is allowed and what not allowed. The people that had voyeurism on me, that did the gang stalking, their minimal charge is 5 years. Now, death and life run in the power of the tongue. So we're transformed by the renewing of our minds. Decisions of surrender. So we got a decision to make. If we replace the walls and our wiring needs replacing, what we have is neural infrastructure. Just like when Adam and Eve, there was walls there, Adam and Eve, like the ribs of the walls. So we have a framework. We have Adam as the foundation. Eve is the apple. The seed is the one the Lord plants in, as he plants anew. He transforms us. That's where we get transforming the minds, the death and life, and the tongue. So he changes that. And what happens is the Sabbath is the grace given for rest. So here the ribs also represents the sword, the spear in Jesus' side. The blood and the water flow with coming out, and it went over the soldier, Roman soldier. So what does that mean? It means all are welcome. Oh, all are welcome. So those walls, like even in your home, if you don't have a strong walls on like a good foundation, what happens? It falls apart. That's the same with relationships, and in our mind. So our mind needs a good foundation. It needs some rewiring. So again, it's inspiration. It is what we're going to look at is inspiration and understanding that it is what transformation is structural. Okay. So here, neural pathways. Neural pathways are very interesting because you can become stronger. They become stronger. They start firing right. The pathways of becoming balanced. Yeah. So it's like when you go in and yesterday I was moving furniture around, cleaning up. It looks better. It's clearing the path. And that's what happens inside our mind. So a little bit at a time. You don't want to rush it. It can cause a lot of damage. So we're going to be consistent and stop. We're going to, just take a pause in between. So we want to clean up. We want to clean up the old repetition in our minds. Move the furniture around. And what this is neuroplasticity. It is very adaptive. It's repeated and it becomes more powerful. And the firing of the neuroplasticity, it becomes more powerful. So salvation to allegiance, the mind needs new rewiring. So structural change. So it needs structural change in there and a little at a time. So that's if you notice bad patterns of negative energy through someone and like gang stalking or people in groups doing wrong or collecting more and more people on that, they become part of it. Now, the mind needs rewiring. And the more you fall into a trap of negative, you become negative because in this world, that's what we're trained up. Now, it has to be gradual. So support peace and remove the illusion. That's what it is. It's a nervous, that the neurons, what they're doing is they're firing, the synapses in it is strengthening. And so it's rewiring of the brain, neuroplasticity. So it's invisible training and it wires together. So it speaks. Okay, so there is consistency in the layers. So each layer requires consistency and our emotions need repetition. Well, so we don't want to run on emotions alone. So we need both. Emotions need the repetition. So stress response, which regulates, and it's needing this, and it's conscious effort that's happening. So hearing this, I was sitting in the chair and I moved a certain way, and I heard something go pop and in my neck on, and it affected my ear and made me dizzy for a moment. So what I did was, if you go like this, or pull on your ears, just do little tricks. Whoops, I just lost my earbud. Wherever it went. Oh, just a minute, I'll be back. Yeah, so everything needs rewiring. My ears, my ears are very small, so they don't hold these too well. So, along with this. So, like I hear a female's voice when there was voyeurism, so then my brain recognizes these patterns. Now, um, what is needed is to have conscious effort. So, stress response, it regulates the needing of conscious effort. So it rewires, it's not an emotional loan, as I said, so it's gradual. That's not all drama. It's not dramatic because it can cause a lot of damage. Just think if you knew everything at once, what it would do to the brain. It'd be pretty scary, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's dangerous. Just like if someone has 4 of my phones, so they're able to sneak in on my accounts and change information. And what they're doing is rewiring in negative way, which causes harm. So I would say, since the brain has to work like this, that's how authorities could go into their phones. It's like a domino effect, and they can see what messages are going where, and then they get the source. Yeah, that's how they get the source. It's gradual, it's less dramatic, and it's repetition, and it creates extraordinary stability. Okay? Because you don't want to run in assumptions, but you want to get to the source. So there's new pathways, and it becomes dominant instead of the old way. The old way is fear. So we're replacing it. Just like if you have memories of your past, and it's negative energy, the more you become stronger in the mind, practicing it, it removes the bad negative energy doesn't affect you the same way anymore. And it takes consistency. It takes consistency. So new pathways become dominant instead of the old pathways. And so it does a replacement. When you place a new transmission or motor in a vehicle, what happens? It goes, it purrs. It sounds so nice. Oh, listen to this baby. Oh, put a new tranny in, a new motor in. It runs nice. Gonna check it out, right? So what happens is the new pathways remove the old. See, I'll get to it, but fear has been practiced repetitiously, and it becomes familiar, right? So realistic, well rehearsed. So faith, true to be practiced is a belief. Replays often, and we don't want to have the negative attributes. Okay, so positive attributes, positive energy, logging that data in us, and over time accumulation, and it becomes dominant. Okay, like my lipstick. So transmission, we know when we put a new tranny in, it is a high voltage, and it conducts, typically made of aluminum, with a steel core for strength. And that's what we need inside our mind to have consistency. And it is transports bulk electricity over long distances, and often supported by tall towers. So that's what I explained in Genesis is about. Okay, so we kind of could look at, like, if a man comes in the house and they've screwed everything's so screwed up now, but we want to have a strong foundation, have like really strengthen women. That's why it says equally yoked 100, because if the women come in there and helping on the strong foundation, the tower, it falls down. Right? There's no support system. Support system is the walls and the beams, and it's the tall towers, and it helps each other out 100. So synaptic connection become what happens is synaptic connection is strengthened that way. Yeah. So now fear feels much more dominant to us, and it needs rewiring. So neurologically stronger, and it searches for evidence and is supplied by repetition. There is another, I don't know their names, another woman, I think she's from India, and she says, oh my goodness, am I brainwashed? So fear is rehearsed with emotion, but stronger than what is stronger the emotion causes negative feedback, and then you get negative inadequacy. And that's what happens. So change the thoughts. So we're going to change the thoughts in here. Okay. And mental cognition ideas, so beliefs and images that are produced by the brain that shapes our perception of our reality, right? So assumptions do what? Put us in fear, right? Um, Anybody that spreads gossip negatively does what to the brain? It fires it up. There was a story of a man um, and a woman, and she's at home, and the grandmother kissed the fella and left lipstick on collar, and that he goes home, and she left under assumption that that lipstick was from another, not as another woman, of course it was, but fooling around, and it caused some major firing off in the brain that was very negative, and it caused it a big storm before he could even speak who he had run into. Okay, so we want to change the thoughts, because that's an assumption right away, and because that's the way our brains are wired, and that's why it becomes more dominant, and that's why we need make neurologically stronger in rewiring the brain. So evidence and verdicts come together. So change the thoughts, the mental cognition, ideas and beliefs and images that are produced. And that's why a lot of people end up hurting a lot of people, because of assumptions, because they only see something without getting to the source or asking questions. They automatically jump to a conclusion and end up causing a lot of harm. Change the thoughts. Mental cognition, ideas and beliefs and images that are produced by the brain that shape the perception of reality, acting and also running on a commentary of your life. So now the other commentary of your life starts to go away. And now what I just told you, the story of the man that went home to his wife, and the grandma had kissed him. And you know how some grandmas, they wear a lot of red lipstick and stuff. And that's what an assumption is. And the brain automatically was wired to state that he was having an affair, and it caused a marriage breakup on an assumption. And that's what gang stalking does. That's what leaving things to your own understanding, and leaving things to, oh, you just didn't want to help me, instead of finding out why. And anyways, you shouldn't have to explain yourself when you're telling the truth. There is no story behind it. You accept it or you don't accept it. Pass the baton and keep going. You don't need to tell a person a story. Okay? Be conscious of that. Stay in the positive energy, because conscious reasoning and unconscious, often automatic mental events, what happens. And then the mental events, it sets off ideas and what kind of garden are we growing. And that's it, because see, God created, he cultivated the garden in Genesis. And if you look at Matthew, Mark, and Luke, look at the leopard, look at the bear's feet, look at the lion's mouth. And what happened in John? In John, there was transformation, right? The way, truth, and life. The light. The light came first, to be the light. So here, this is what happens because we're automatically wired for negativity. We're automatically not wired thinking our life is abundant in any way at all. We are wired to send off on our own assumptions. Okay, you don't have to explain yourself. If you can't do something, you can't do something. If you can, you can't. Okay? You need to take care of yourself. So what we want in our mind includes problem solving and a mental process. Let's say you drink a lot and you run in an assumption. Oh, whoa, that's going to cause a lot of rage up in here, isn't it? And that's negative energy. And it makes you act on that negative feedback you gave yourself, which is self-deception, and it makes you act out and harm another person. Okay? That's what happens. And that's what happens to the process. So when you have too much drinking or too much drugs, it will not allow you to have balance in the brain. And in the brain, it is faulty, and you run off your own ideas. So it's a mental process. Learning in this, you can go into, there's a great study about this in child and youth. I had that course at Fanshawe College, and she made up her own studies there. I can't remember her name. It'll come to me. Anyway, she did for children, because your brain doesn't develop. Look at even when Jesus went out. He was in his 30s, right? 30. By the time he was 30, that's when the brain is fully developed. And it can't have all that junk in the trunk. So she does a great teaching on that and what alcohol does to the mind and what can regrow and what is needed. And it also will help you straighten out about belief systems, about, about if you bleed, down there, when you have sex, where the wall is thin or not. And it doesn't mean you're a virgin, because I had lost children. It's just, whether it gets punked. I'm not going to go into details about it, but they have great teachings on that, or just look it up, because you start falling into these crazy belief systems and religions, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Okay? So find out. Find out. Okay? So again, I was told I went and had a UTI at St. Joe's Hospital, and some doctor comes in and says, "Oh, you're from the Old Testament." Like, what kind of doctor have I got? It was a UTI, because when a person is not sexual, and then they become sexual, the body recognizes a foreign object. That's how you can look at it. And when it recognizes a foreign object, a lot of times what happens is you get a UTI or something is happening, because it's wanting to attack the foreign object, your body does. And that's why it happens. And then once, if you're with that person, it's consistent, it rewires, and then more will get the UTI. But that's how it works. I had a doctor that dealt with my bladder and kidneys in Stratford. He explained this to me a long time ago. One of the reasons why, if you're not active and then you become active, that's how he explained it to me. So he says the body is in defense and it thinks it's being attacked. And then then your body's trying to fight this off and end up with this infection. Yeah. So it has nothing to do with the Old Testament. Okay. So we're renewing of our minds. Okay. So that's how he explained it to me, so that I could help you. And again, at Fanshawe College, she is really good at teaching on that too. So, and about alcoholism and drugs and stuff. Okay. And what can regrow again. You can grow new dendrites and everything, but you have to stop doing the negative to your body. So we want our minds includes problem solving. Okay. So it's a mental process and it's cognitive process and it's direct sensory and stimulation. So you place positive thoughts and it's a gardening. So it changes up the gardening in it. When you change up gardening, it has to be cultivated, it has to be cleaned. Okay. And once it's cleaned up, it becomes a clear path. Just like when I sat down here and my table is messy, it's really to eat. It clouds the mind, and you don't want a cloudy mind. You don't want the gray matter. You want to have clear, the light. Allow the light to shine so bright. That's why it says if you keep perfect peace on the mind who has stayed on the truth, on God, and the Lord Jesus in Isaiah 26:3. So this tongue used to be running on assumptions. Now this tongue is going to run on truth because I had rewiring of the brain. So I'm not running off assumptions. Okay. Now, so we place positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. We're going to dump positive. We're going to clean the garden out. We're going to cultivate it. And we're going to get rid of the weeds because what happens is when there's too many weeds in there and they have to be dug out. Aren't you happy when you get all those weeds out? You go, whoa, now they can grow. That's what the weeds do to the dendrites in the brain. Okay. So you want to clear up that mind, clear up everything. And then it stops in your dendrites and your neurons. Everything starts to grow. Removal of the junk in the trunk. Is that what they say? Removal of the junk. So removal of this, it helps you to grow new dendrites and you start to develop, and it's reframing everything. And so reframing unhelpful thoughts isn't going to help us, right? Running on an assumption. And that's what happens. Okay, so I hope these little stories that I'm telling you along the way here will help you because the men, the women, with the grandma, or else people drinking are high and they just assume, and you don't have to explain it. Thinking, oh my gosh, and especially if you're drinking, what does that do? You start believing your own self. You start believing your same mental process of negative energy, and it feeds you. And then that fuel, and then you drink more and you smoke more, and then it feeds more negative, and then it puts you in the mud. So this is a process that we need direct sensory stimulation. So speed is dominance where what happens when you're upset is so speedy in the mind, in the brain, and it destroys you and you become negative. So now that's the same with scamming or gang stalking and all that. It's all fed negative. Now that if you can remove the negative, you learn from it and don't do it anymore. So be gradual breathing. So in for 5, and then out. Could be like 6, 7, 8, whatever. And the more you do it, the stronger it becomes. Okay. So then you recognize and you're aware of it. When you first start out, you go, what the heck? But once you practice it, it becomes available to you much more. And same with your balance. So neurologically, you become stronger. So I'm really, really hoping the word for you is what's needed in the body if your brain has had an aneurysm. My grandmother died of an aneurysm. One moment she seems fine. Her behaviors were fine. And next thing you know, they're telling me she has Alzheimer's. She dies of an aneurysm. I don't think she had Alzheimer's because she was cognitively fine one day. I believe that horrible thing that happened in her brain did this. So the neurons are firing, synapses are strengthening, rewiring of the brain is invisible training, just like energy, a ball of energy. So I was telling you, I was talk by Dr. Roy Mendel, go like this. You just go like this, and then you rub, and then you go like this. Make sure that finger's in there. And you do this for 30 seconds each. And then you'll feel your hands, and you'll feel a ball of energy, and then you bring it out, and you bring it again. It's invisible, but it's there. Last night I woke up, I don't know, I think I checked the time, it was around 2 or 3. I woke up because I could feel it in my hands. I've been doing it, practicing, and it was, instead of fearing it, and actually all that had to do with my heart. So that meant my blood flow, the blood was flowing. And then it started to happen to my feet, the bottom of my feet. So that means there's something going on. The blood is flowing. And I could feel this huge balls of energy in my hand. I'm lying there and I didn't fear it. I lied there, put my hands, and then I just put it all over my body. And I started to fall back to sleep. See, and it was just so much of this energy that was going through. And so this can be your medical device, your prescription to help with your mind. Faith is by hearing and hearing and hearing, right? So changing your mindset is a product of positivity and positive energy. And may that our lives always believe in abundance in every way, to know that you matter. I'm Rhonda Fair from TTKM Ask Faith from His Basket. And God bless.